shelf for a hall table that I'm making. It's already dimensioned, so I got the length, the width, thickness. It's been through my drum sander. I've profiled the edges already. I did this with a template writing bit, so that's already done. Also hand planed down the edges, so those are pretty much ready to go. So what I'm going to do here is round over the edges. Generally, I'm not a real fan of rounding over, but this little shelf kind of needs it, and all I'm going to wind up doing is basically an 1/8 inch round over bit. So I've got a little trim router here with my 1/8 inch bit on it. I've got the bit pulled back a little bit into the base. I'm going to route this profile in a couple passes. Part of the reason for doing that is the less I can take off in a single pass, the cleaner the cut will be. Also, what's likely to happen as I get around these corners and that type of thing, I'm going to wind up slowing down a little bit. My feed rate and moving the router across those is going to be a little slower. Creates a much bigger potential for burning. I would be very surprised if I don't have some sort of burning as I come around these. By doing a slight first pass, then extending the bit out the base of the router a little bit, and then taking a very light second pass, I can move a little bit faster and hopefully remove some of those burn marks. Ideally, I would like to have no burn marks. That's probably a little unrealistic, so I'll have to sand these off in a little while. But let's go ahead and see how this works out. Also, I've got my shelf raised up. What I've got underneath it are basically these Canadian League hockey pucks with a little bit of rubber pad on either side. So hopefully it sticks pretty well to the bench. Will hold my shelf in place while I do this rounding over. So let's go ahead and give this a shot and see how this goes. And yep, obviously have some burn marks. So what I'm going to do now is, as I extend that bit a little bit, we'll take another pass. I'll check then to see if the round over is what I'm looking for. Might have to take a third pass, but that's not that big a deal. It's looking a good bit better. I've got one little burn mark there. Pretty clean on the other side, so I want to call that good. Do have a little bit of ridge here, which so I extended the bit a little bit further than I wanted to. And thereby, let me show you the profile of this bit. So what these bits typically have is they've got a straight side and then the curved part. Generally I try, if I'm just rounding over, I don't want to expose this little corner. That's what gave me this ridge, so I had the bit exposed a little bit more than I really wanted to. So now I'll run this back through my drum sander, do that on 220, and I still need to clean it up. So For my intro class, I don't think I showed the whole class how to use card scrapers. So after I get that done, I'll do another video and show you how to use a card scraper. That'll quickly take up all these little machine marks from the sander. So even though the sander's running at 220, there's a repetitive type pattern for pretty much it happens with all sort of planers, joiners, sanders, not so much big time savers, big belt sanders, but certainly drum sanders. And it winds up leaving this sort of repeated mark all the way across it. Card scraper will clean that up for me pretty quickly. Hand plane would also do it. Chances, sort of the potential for getting a little bit of tear out with the hand plane is a little bit more than with the card scraper. And something this small really won't take me more than about 5 minutes to card scrape. Then a little bit of random orbit sander with 180, 220, and it's pretty much ready for finish after that. So.